Hello, my name is Spacesis, and welcome to Corpse Party, Sweet Sachiko's Hysteric Birthday Bash. I don't know anything about this game except for that it's taking a bit of a more comedic side of the Corpse Party franchise than the other games. So we're gonna try. Ooh, I like the song. Bunch of characters I don't recognize. And Zetsuko. Ikutani. Aww. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Wow, okay. I saw one dead person knocked down in Sachiko. I'm curious how this is gonna go, because this definitely looks different. Oh, bathing suits, of course. Okay, Corpse Party, Sweet Sachiko's Hysteric Birthday Bash. Sorry. Alright. What's the bonus? Send button? Oh, okay, I guess there is no bonus. Or maybe I'm pressing the wrong button. Continue? Oh, I don't have anything to continue. Okay, bonus. Gallery of Spirits, Character Dossiers, Casebooks, Notes and Journals, Cursed Phonograph. Okay, Corpse Party. Review events from the original Corpse Party, also known as Blood Covered. Chapter 1. Outline. With their friend Mayu Shizumoto's transferring to a new school, a group of friends from Kisaragi Academy Senior High, plus their teacher and one student's little sister, decide to conduct a ritual called Sachiko Ever After that promises to keep their friendship alive forever. But that just winds up becoming the start of a nightmare. This chapter focuses primarily on Naomi and Saiko as they awaken in a school neither of them recognizes, from which there appears to be no escape. As they explore this otherworldly school, Saiko steps out to search for other survivors, while Naomi is left to rest and recover from a sprained ankle. Naomi almost gets killed by a strange black mist, however, and takes her anger out on Saiko when she returns. The two part ways, but Naomi quickly decides to find Saiko and apologize, and while she does succeed, unfortunately it's too late. Saiko is dead and hanging from a noose in the girls' bathroom. Okay. Wrong End 1. Wrong End 1 occurs when Naomi comes in contact with the dark mist in the school infirmary one too many times, a fate which can be avoided by combining the matches found near the heater with the alcohol found in the cabinet to burn away the hair sealing the exit. If this can't be achieved before succumbing to the mist, however, then Naomi will find her very being permeated by its essence, permanently becoming part of the school. Wrong End 2 occurs if the chapter is progressed to its end without first triggering the events in which Naomi and Saiko are sealed in Classroom 3A. Naomi will still discover Seiko's lifeless body hanging on the first floor restroom, but will then be coerced by child spirits into swallowing a pair of scissors. Lovely. Okay. Chapter 2. Ayumi, Yoshiki, and Miss Yui are all sent to the same dimension together, and to the same place as well. Naomi is not present in this dimension, unbeknownst to the three, yet they distinctly hear Naomi scream. Miss Yui goes off alone to investigate, and is promptly terrorized by a vengeful spirit, who crushes her beneath a cabinet full of sharp implements. She loses consciousness. After some time passes, Ayumi and Yoshiki decide to set out and look for her, but find only corpses and spirits. This environment has a poignant effect on Ayumi, who begins to act possessed until Yoshiki embraces her, snapping her out of it. The two of them continue to explore the school, eventually happening upon Mayu, who is being held captive by some of the realm's resident spirits. No attempt to set her free is effective. Outline. Frustrated, the two leave the room to look for another way of helping Mayu. They meet Naho Sayanoke for the first time, or rather Naho's spirit. Naho informs them that this space was formed by the victims of the infamous Heavenly Host serial kidnapping and murder incident, and the only way to appease those victims is through the repentance of their killer. With much difficulty, Ayumi and Yoshiki acquire a doll that's believed to belong to the killer, and are able to extract words of repentance from it. They let the resident spirits holding Mayu hear these words, but this simply causes the spirits to go into a rampage, hurling Mayu at impossible speed into a wall outside the room and killing her in a spectacularly horrific display of force. Wrong End 1 occurs if Yoshiki ignores the seemingly possessed Ayumi and activates the pulley mechanism in both classrooms 4A and 1A without her. This will cause the piano wire to slice Ayumi's body clean in two, and shortly after Yoshiki discovers her remains in the state, straight piano wire will do the same to him. Wrong End 2 occurs if Yoshiki ignores the seemingly possessed Ayumi in the third floor restroom and attempts to go downstairs. Ayumi will run into the stairwell and push him down the stairs to his death. Wrong End 3 occurs if Yoshiki comes face to face with the spirit of Ryo in classroom 4A or is captured by Ryo during the pursuit in the hallway. This will result in Yoshiki losing consciousness, only to regain it in a shallow grave where he's slowly buried alive. Wrong End 4 occurs if all 5 of victims' memoirs are read in order. Upon reading the last one, Yoshiki will suddenly find that he's killed Ayumi and is now eating her. Lovely. Chapter 3. Oh, wrong button. Outline. Satoshi and Yuka set off to find their friends, as well as an exit, but Yuka sidetracks them by revealing that she's really has to pee, so now they're looking for their friends, an exit, and a usable bathroom. Along the way, they briefly reunite with Morishige, but he winds up going on a separate way from the two of them. Before he does, however, Yuka expresses some concern over the fact that he was seen taking photos of a mutilated corpse with his cell phone, but Satoshi assures her that there must be some other explanation for what he was doing. The two continue their search and manage to find an outdoor walkway that leads into an older school building, though its only living inhabitant seems to have been driven mad and is more or less inconsolable. It's at this point that Yuka decides she just can't hold her pee any longer, so Satoshi waits inside while she does her business out by the walkway, or tries to anyway. She winds up getting scared by the spirit of Yoki Kano and runs back into the building, but Satoshi is no longer anywhere to be found. She does find Morishige again, but still creeped out by his disturbing newfound hobby, she runs from him. This leads her to encounter Yuya Kazami for the first time, who claims he's searching for his little sister. She joins him, and with his help, she's able to enter a bathroom that seems promising. While she's inside, Kazami's best friend, Kinsuke Kurosaki, shows up, and after what momentarily seems to be a happy reunion, Kazami winds up stabbing him to death, more or less, just for sport. Meanwhile, Satoshi wakes up in the school's faculty office where he is a disturbing encounter with Naho Sayanoki. Wrong End 1 occurs if not Yuka is caught by the ghost of Yuki when she goes out to the covered walkway to relieve herself. It also occurs if Yuka ducks into the restroom in the old annex when running from Morishige, though only if she doesn't have the protective beads in the hand. The spirit of Yuki directly confronts Yuka, thrusting a large pair of scissors into her eye, which causes her to bleed out while suffering intensely. Wrong End 2 occurs if Satoshi inspects or turns to face the spirit of Ryo without protective beads to save him. He'll continue onto the rotted floor beam and fall a significant distance onto the uneven ground below, suffering massive internal injuries. Yuka will also jump in after him, presumably dying at his side. Wrong End 3 occurs if all 5 Wrong End 3 occurs if all 5 victims' memoirs are read in order. This will cause Satoshi to lose control of himself and become a mindless, aimless soul wandering Heavenly Host forever. Wrong End 4 occurs if the green floors in the annex are walked over without the proper footwear, to the point of the party's HP is reduced to 0. This simply triggers a quick demise. Okay. Chapter 4. Outline. Satoshi is sent to another dimension through Naho's powers and follows Seiko's voice when he awakens. This leads him to find Naomi, dangling from a noose, whom he manages to save just in the nick of time. Meanwhile, Ayumi and Yoshiki split up after Mayu's death, and Ayumi finds Naho once more. Ayumi scolds her for giving them false information about appeasing the spirits, leading to Mayu's death, but Naho assures Ayumi that her information is solid. Yoshiki manages to find his way back to Ayumi once more, and the two of them set off to follow the doll's voice and find tongues belonging to the resident spirits, hidden away in the small hemp bags. Meanwhile, again, Satoshi, who is now in the separate dimension from Yuka, works with Naomi to attempt to return to the space where his little sister currently resides. In the custodian's closet, they find a report from one Ko Kubiki that details the specifics of the serial kidnappings and murder incident at Heavenly Host. It's at around this time that Ayumi and Yoshiki manage to track down the tongues of all of the resident spirits, minus the girl in red, which they go about redistributing to their respective owners. This triggers a massive earthquake, and suddenly the two of them are back in their own world, in their own school, in Class 2-9, just as it was when they left. But it's only the two of them. Their friends are still trapped in Heavenly Host. One of the spirits, Yuki, shows up and explains that she can warp them back if they want, but the only way to save their friends would be to appease the souls of all of the victims of the kidnapping and murder incident. Ayumi wants to know more, so Yuki takes her hand and lets her experience the moment of the tragedy firsthand. She's blindfolded but can hear everything. She hears Ryo get killed first, then Tokiko, and finally, it's her turn. The blindfold is removed, and there, standing before her, is the face of Yuki's murderer, of the girl in red and supposed fourth victim, Sachiko Shinozaki. Wrong end 1 occurs if Ayumi isn't saved from the pool before she runs out of breath, resulting in her death by drowning. Wrong end 2 occurs if the pool is drained before rescuing Ayumi from it. This will result in her getting sucked partway down the drain and basically torn to shreds. Wrong end 3 occurs if Naomi is not saved from hanging, and Toko Kidasaki is encountered in the infirmary without having first found both Naomi and Seiko's cell phones. Toko will attempt to stab Satoshi with scissors, and without a cell phone miraculously placed in his breast pocket at just the right spot to stop the blade, she will succeed, killing him. Wrong end 4 occurs if the spirits of Ryo is faced head-on, or if the wrong tongue is offered to one of the child's spirits. The whites of the child's eyes begin to envelop Ayumi until she finds herself in an undescribable world of suffering. Wrong end 5, technically an extra end, occurs if Satoshi fails to save Naomi from hanging, but succeeds in preventing Toko from stabbing him. The story's focus will shift back to Miss Yui, who successfully saves Ayumi, but then dies slowly while buried in rubble, thinking of her students to the very end and wishing them all the best. Yeah, that was sad. Chapter 5. Kazami acts a little crazy upon emerging from the bathroom, scaring Yuka and causing her to run from him. He happily chases her, however, seemingly enjoying the fact that his actions fill her with terror. She manages to escape the old building and return to the new, where Kazami is finally attacked and subdued by Yoshikazu as he passes by the infirmary. Meanwhile, following a tireless search through the school for Mayu, Morishige stops to take a brief respite by admiring the corpse photos he's taken with his phone thus far. While doing so, however, he receives a phone call from the owner of the mutilated body he happens to be staring at on his screen, Mayu Suzumoto herself. She tells him to stop looking at her, and in a crazed panic, he hurls himself through a nearby window, never to be heard from again by his friends for the remainder of the story. As this is happening, Satoshi and Naomi are in this custodian's closet watching a video that indicates that there's a means of escaping the school, but the video is cut off before any details can be gleaned. Ayumi then is back in Kisaragi, trying to explain to Yoshiki the truth that Yuki just showed her. Ayumi and Yoshiki elect to return to Heavenly Host to appease the spirits there and rescue their friends, and Ayumi quickly finds Naomi's student ID badge with Sachiko Ever After scrap included, in the middle of the hallway. The two pairs briefly reunite, but it's across a gap and they are forced to split up again in order to find a way to actually reach one another. They share the information they've each learned with the other pair first, however, and resolve to search not just for a way to reunite, but also to find their other friends and to find a proper means of escaping this hellish school. Satoshi and Naomi successfully locate Yuka, who's holding a videotape that contains the rest of the information needed to get out of the school. This is when Naomi realizes, however, that she's lost her student ID, which Ayumi neglected to mention to her during the informational exchange. Meanwhile, Ayumi and Yoshiki find several of Naho's journal entries and learn that the information about Sachiko Ever After on the website was intentionally misreported in order to lure more victims into Heavenly Host. Naho is confronted about this and made aware that her beloved Mr. Kubiki is killed by her own hands, which causes her to succumb to a powerful force of despair and insanity known as the Darkening and vanish. The two teams both come to realize that they can't just perform the reverse ritual now and go home as if nothing ever happened. They need to obtain repentance from Sachiko and exorcise the three actual victims first, or else the gate surrounding this dimension rift will never fully open to let them out. So the five of them set out to learn more about Sachiko's past. They eventually encounter Sachiko's mother, the school nurse Yoshi Shinozaki, in a very different version of the school infirmary. There they find a journal entry written by Yoshi after her death, which details what happened 20 years prior to the serial kidnapping and murder incident. Principal Takamine Yanagihori attacked Yoshi and, while chasing her through the school, wound up pushing her down a staircase accidentally and killed her. Sachiko witnessed this happen, and so the principal killed her as well, in cold blood. Sachiko then became a spirit who wished for nothing more than to keep her mother company, so she began killing children solely so that they would be sent to the infirmary. Unfortunately, as time went on, she began to kill children not for her mother's sake, but because she enjoyed it. Since the principal is the origin of all the pain and suffering here, Satoshi et al. Decided to investigate his office, whereupon the gang finds Sachiko's tongue, and Satoshi ends up seeing a vision of Yanagihori's actions after the murders. He went to the bomb shelter beneath the school, to where he buried Sachiko in a shallow grave and cut off her tongue to prevent her from speaking to him in his dreams again. The gang then discovers a secret passage leading from the principal's office down into the basement level of the school and follow it, only to find themselves trapped in a blood-splattered room with footsteps fast approaching. Everyone hides and witnesses Yoshikazu Yanagihori, the principal's son, enter the room, chasing Shogo Taguchi. Yoshikazu is dragging Seiko's body back, which he drops on the ground in a clear view of Naomi. He captures Taguchi and then scoops Seiko's body back up, and the three all vanish somewhere. Naomi, in an absolute emotional turmoil, chases after Yoshikazu and to get Seiko's body back. The other two run after her, but lose sight of her somewhere in the darkened corridors. During this chase, however, they reunite with Ayumi and Yoshiki, and learn that Miss Yui sacrificed herself to save Ayumi's life. The four then encounter Yuki, who informs them that Naomi is undergoing a trial alone, and if she can avoid succumbing to the darkening, it will be possible to appease Sachiko here. Yuki also informs them that the way out described in the video doubles as the procedure through which Sachiko can be appeased. The four proceed into the room where Sachiko is buried, and with the help of the newly reunited Naomi, who successfully completed her trial, they are able to appease Sachiko's troubled spirit. Yuki appears once more and tells them that they must hurry, as the school is in a state of chaos and the now open gate will close soon. 5 survivors successfully make their way to the covered walkway and, against all odds, are finally able to escape Heavenly Host Elementary. Wrong End 1 occurs if the anatomical model is examined in the science lab, and then Yoshiki is caught by it after it comes to life. The model will grab hold of Yoshiki and set him on fire as it burns to ashes. Wrong End 2 occurs during the Sachiko appeasement. If the incorrect item is presented to her, Ayumi will succumb to the darkening and attack Satoshi. Wrong End 3 occurs if the chant is spoken in the wrong number of times after appeasing Sachiko, or if the escape from Heavenly Host after that takes long enough that the bell tolls a 7th time. In this eventuality, Yuki will become the new Sachiko, donning the red dress and sealing everyone's fate as the curse continues with her as its new arbiter. Wrong End 4 occurs if the escape ritual is attempted without meeting Naho in the reference room or acquiring the baby statue. Everything seems to go as planned as Satoshi finds himself back in the real world, but he then realizes that he's been sent back in time to before Sachiko Ever After ritual was ever attempted. Yet only he has any knowledge of what's to come. He tries to stop his friends from performing the ritual this time, but can't seem to alter their destiny, so he reluctantly rejoins them, hoping he can help things turn out differently this time. This ending leads into several chapters of Corpse Party Book of Shadows. Wrong End 5 occurs if Satoshi and Yuka choose to turn back after being reunited with Ayumi and Yoshiki, proceeding down the formerly blocked-off passage. Naomi will emerge from the darkness of this passage, dragging Seiko's body behind her, seemingly possessed and under the control of her possessor. It's unclear what happens after this, but the audio suggests that Naomi attacks her friends, and their story ends here. Wrong End 6 occurs if Yuka is caught by Kazami, or if Yoshiki chooses not to return to Heavenly Host when Yuki offers the opportunity to go back for the others. Ayumi will become obsessively jealous of Naomi being paired up with Satoshi, and will succumb to the darkening, ultimately killing Naomi when encountering her beneath the school. Her plan is to return to the real world with Satoshi, but this plan is thrown off when Satoshi too succumbs to the darkening over the death of Yuka. Yoshiki eventually chases Ayumi back into Heavenly Host, but he too succumbs to the darkening before finding her, leaving Ayumi on her own, and thus unable to perform the escape ritual, which requires a minimum of 2 people. Wrong End 7, which is technically the extra end, occurs if Satoshi stops in at the underground restrooms after leaving the dissection room in pursuit of Naomi. The party will not be able to find Naomi and will be forced to perform the escape ritual without her. They will succeed, but Yuka will take a fatal knife wound in the last minute, shielding her brother and dying in his place. As a result, only Satoshi, Ayumi, and Yoshiki will escape to the real world. Satoshi, back in his own bedroom, will be reflecting on this when he hears a noise from the next room, Yuka's former bedroom. He peeks through the keyholes and sees a familiar eye peeking back at him. Alright, the extra chapters. Extra Chapter 1. Outline. 3 students from Misashigawa Girls Middle School, Nana, Nadi, and Chihaya, find themselves performing the Sachiko Ever After ritual and getting trapped in Heavenly Host. Their aimless wanderings of its halls eventually lead them to the 3rd floor's men's room, where they encounter a mysterious gentleman spirit who happens to reside in the far stall. He's upset that people continue to so thoughtlessly open his stall door on him, but is therefore also impressed that the girls of Misashigawa did not do the same. As such, he entrusts them with the quest to find his missing hat and glasses, his gentleman set, as it were. A quest to the Misashigawa girls happily undertake and ultimately complete. The gentleman spirit thanks them for their kindness, then recedes back into his stall, leaving the girls to resume their wanderings. His final words to them are, "I love you!" Oh, that's it? There's no wrong ends? I can't remember. Alright, extra chapter 2. Morishige gives chase to Yuka when she walks in on him taking photos of corpses in the school's annex and revels in the knowledge that his actions terrifies her. His chase is cut short, however, when he inadvertently bumps into Yuya Kazami and drops his cell phone. Kazami picks it up, and though Morishige quickly snatches it back from him, it's not before Kazami gets a good look at the photo app that remains open, and with well-shot pictures of corpses clearly on display. Morishige realizes that Kazami likely won't want to team up with him after seeing such a thing, quietly excusing himself and leaving the scene, but Kazami grins and calls after him, expressing a desire that they meet again sometime. Extra Chapter 3. A young Ayumi seeks counsel from her older sister Hinoe, who has always been there for her. Hinoe has found much success as a spiritual medium against the wishes of her family, and Ayumi wants nothing more than to become an illustrator in spite of any objections those around her may have. Hinoe gives her a book by one Naho Sayanoke, who has already found tremendous success as an author and spiritual researcher despite being no older than Ayumi. This inspires Ayumi, who says she hopes to one day provide illustrations for one of Naho's book covers. Extra Chapter 4. Fukuroi is hard at work in the student council room at Byakuden High, as per usual, and also, as per usual, Katayama and Okawa are there with him, playing their current favorite dating sim while waiting for him to finish. Kurosaki shows up as well and suggests that Fukuroi should try playing the dating sim too, which Fukuroi objects to on account of his work. He's eventually coerced into playing, however, and winds up selecting the size of a girl's breast as a major deciding factor for him in choosing which character to date, leading his friends to tease him for liking big boobs. Extra Chapter 5. After class, in room 29 one day, Ayumi asks Miss Yui for details about her love life, and learns that while Miss Yui currently has no boyfriend, she did have a crush on someone when she was in high school. Ayumi asks for all the juicy details, but is slightly disappointed to learn that there really aren't any, as the relationships in question was an extremely innocent affair that never progressed beyond hand-holding due to a general nervousness. Ayumi remarks that that's quite romantic in its own right, however, at which point Yoshiki bursts into the room to return to the class's day duty roster. Ayumi chases him out, and he leaves without a fuss, despite the fact that Ayumi is also on day duty today, a fact that Miss Yui reminds her of, while also making note of Yoshiki's fine character, clearly sensing some interest in Ayumi from him. This seems to fly over Ayumi's head entirely, however. Extra Chapter 6. It's the day of Kisaragi Academy's Culture Festival, and Ayumi is taking a short break from tending the sweet red bean soup stand Class 2-9 is running. Naomi, Saiko, Satoshi, and Yoshiki all happen by, and the latter two mention a haunted house Class 5 is running that they heard is pretty good. The whole crowd plans to check it out, and the boys naturally invite Ayumi to join them, but Ayumi is unable to get away from her duty, so she declines. Yoshiki feels bad and offers to stay behind with her to help out, but Ayumi insists that she's fine by herself. The group leaves, and Naomi promises to buy a drink or something for Ayumi on the way back. Once they're out of earshot, Ayumi gets silently annoyed, mumbling to herself that she hates when people make a fuss over her. Extra Chapter 7. The day arrives when Kokubiki intends to perform the Sachiko Ever After ritual to investigate Heavenly Host Elementary, and he's having second thoughts about bringing Naho with him due to the dangers involved. He knocks on the door to Naho's room in order to tell her his plans on going with just his cameraman Taguchi, but Naho isn't there. Rather, she's left a note for him. He reads it and seems taken by its sentiment, but remains stalwart in his decision that only he and Taguchi should go. He leaves a response note for Naho informing her of his decision, then he and Taguchi leave the room to begin their investigation in earnest. Extra Chapter 8. In the abandoned bomb shelter beneath Heavenly Host Elementary, Yoshikazu brings another victim for Sachiko to kill, and Sachiko praises him, promising him a dubious reward for his efforts. The victim, 11-year-old Yuki Kano, begs Yoshikazu to let her go, but Sachiko instead tells him to blindfold her, and he obeys without hesitation. Extra Chapter 9. No one is around in Classroom 2-9 to pressure him, yet Morishige still can't seem to find his proper voice for play acting. He thus decides to skip drama practice for the day and head home. Meanwhile, Yoshiki realizes he forgot his phone and makes a mad dash back into Classroom 2-9 to recover it, bumping into Morishige at the entrance. Morishige's glasses fall to the ground, and before he even has time to finish warning Yoshiki not to step on them, Yoshiki steps on them. Without his glasses, Morishige can't see at all, so he enlists Yoshiki's extremely reluctant help in guiding him home where an old pair awaits. Because he's virtually blind without his glasses, he winds up walking arm in arm with Yoshiki, which Mayu happens to see from afar, unknowingly getting the wrong idea about these two acquaintances. And Extra Chapter 10. Yuka is exceptionally happy about the scented beads she's just procured and wants to show them to Satoshi, but realizes after she bounds into his room that he's not home right now. Her mother is, however, and finds her in Satoshi's room. Yuka is then presented with a large stack of UPC codes she's been collecting and excitedly adds them to her stash. Evidently, she's been exchanging them for a variety of scented beads, with her current acquisition being a bottle bearing the fragrance of caramel. Her mother asks her what effect the caramel is supposed to have, but Yuka won't tell. Pretending to leave, however, her mother eavesdrops and hears that the caramel-scented beads are supposed to provide luck in matters of love. Yuka is understandably embarrassed at being found out, and for good reason absolutely refuses to tell her mother whom she intends the effect to be used on. Her mother wishes her good luck regardless, however, not knowing that she's encouraging incest. Okay, so that was that. And then we have Book of Shadows. Remains. Chapter 0. Naomi returned from Heavenly Host alive, but Seiko did not, and in fact, per the rules of the accursed school, Seiko's entire existence has now been erased from history, unable to accept the loss of her best friend, whom only she and her fellow Kisaragi survivors even remember ever existed. Naomi becomes more and more of a shut-in, electing not to go outside or communicate with others. Her mother Natsumi becomes increasingly more concerned about her, but to no avail. Naomi has shut herself off from the world. Chapter 1. Seal. In another timeline, the day before the culture festival at Kisaragi, Seiko is sleeping over at Naomi's house, where the two pledge their undying friendship to one another. The next day, the culture festival goes off without a hitch, and Class 29's red bean soup stand winds up being the most popular attraction, but there's still a matter of Mayu leaving the very next day, transferring to a new school due to her father's work. To help take the sting out of this, Ayumi brought a charm she found on the internet. Set to go ever after, designed to preserve friendships forever. Everyone in the class participates in this charm, but so she seems hesitant. He objects strongly to it, warning everyone that horrible things will happen if they go through with it, but they do so anyway, and Satoshi reluctantly joins as well, reasoning that their chances are better off with him and his foreknowledge than without. Flash forward, and Naomi is almost killed in Heavenly Host School infirmary by a black mist, and begins to take her anger out on Seiko for abandoning her. She experiences a feeling of deja vu, however, and knows that this path won't end well, yet she can't bring herself to reverse course, and the two of them wind up parting ways. Naomi can't shake the haunting image of Seiko hanging from a noose, however, and frantically searches for her where her deja vu tells her to, in the building's third-floor bathroom. What she finds instead is a ladder leading down through a false wall. As she descends, a terrible stench wafts up through the passage, and a foul premonition pervades her very being. She persists to the bottom, however, and finds a girl in a red dress, who promises to help Naomi meet with Seiko if she'll just listen to what she has to say. Naomi agrees and is reunited with Seiko in the hallway. The two walk for a bit into the custodian's closet, where Seiko confesses that her feelings for Naomi go well beyond friendship. Naomi, uncertain of how to react, begins crying and runs out of the room. A black viscous liquid begins to spill out from her nether regions, and in a fit of panic, her head becomes unbearably heavy and she finds herself losing consciousness. No. Did I miss one? No? Okay. Wrong end one occurs when attempting to save Seiko from hanging. If Naomi chooses to use the bucket in her attempt, the bucket fails to provide enough support, and Seiko's neck is snapped. Wrong end two occurs when attempting to save Seiko from hanging. If Naomi chooses either grab her body or think of something else, her attempts fail and Seiko's neck is snapped. Chapter 2. Demise. Mayu dreams of her own death, as if she's experienced it once before, and sure enough, the spirits she saw enter the infirmary in her dream do so again now. Knowing what she knows, she avoids looking in after them, and thus avoids her fate, at least for the moment. Instead, she sets out to find someone else in this dilapidated, haunted shell of a school, and eventually does stumble upon Yoshiki after a large earthquake. Evidently, Yoshiki was with Ayumi up until just a short while ago, but Ayumi suddenly began acting strangely during an investigation in the custodian's closet and ran off somewhere. Yoshiki gave chase, but was suddenly confronted by Naho Sayanoke, who explained that Ayumi's innate talents for the spiritual communion may be mentally affecting her. Mayu decides to accompany Yoshiki in a search for Ayumi, as well as any other friendly faces they might come across. Along the way, Mayu's abdomen begins to hurt, so she stops in a bathroom to check it, only to discover a large, sprawling bruise of unknown origin. Setting this aside, Mayu rejoins Yoshiki, and the two continue onward. They happen to hear a noise when walking by the pool locker room entrance, and upon ducking inside to check it out, they find a middle school-aged girl sprawled out on the floor, bound so tightly that she can't even move a muscle. She's attached to a death trap, but Yoshiki and Mayu take the time to carefully disarm it and set the middle schooler free. She is Nana Ogasawara, and she says that she was captured and tied up by an unknown assailant. Mayu notices that Nana has a similar bruise on her thigh as the one that she discovered on her own abdomen, and asks Nana about it, but Nana has no more of a clue than Mayu about where it came from. The party continues to search the school building and eventually find Ayumi in the science lab, still maddened from the spirit's influence. Yoshiki is able to snap her back to sanity, however, with a hug. With Ayumi now safely back into the fold, the whole group takes a brief respite in the hallway, and Nana excuses herself to use the bathroom. In actuality, she set it off alone to find the friends she was with when she came to Heavenly Host. Yoshiki becomes concerned and asks Mayu to check on her. Mayu realizes Nana has run off and briefly sets about searching for her before hearing her scream. Nana emerges from the locker room, but not intact. Her legs have been cut off, severed exactly at the spot where the bruising on her thighs had been previously. She begs Mayu for help just before being pulled back into the darkness. Mayu panics and checks the markings on her own abdomen once more, and not only have they gotten much darker, but new bruises have been appearing on her face as well. Yoshiki expresses concern for Ayumi, but Mayu simply panics further. Not wanting these new markings to be seen, she runs off and winds up fleeing directly into the infirmary. Sachiko and the child spirits are waiting for her there, and just as with Nana, they proceed to tear her apart in the exact same spots which the bruises had formed. Wrong End 1 occurs if Mayu directly encounters Ryo in the entranceway. Her hair is pulled and torn, followed by Ryo and the other child spirits unnaturally bending and dismantling her body like curious children gleefully tearing apart a doll. Wrong End 2 occurs if Yoshiki and Ayumi directly encounter Ryo in Class 4A. The two are captured by Ryo, and Yoshiki finds himself bound by both his hands and feet to the table in a dissection room. Sachiko and Yoshikazu are there, and Yoshikazu uses his hammer to break both Yoshiki's legs, then continues smashing his legs even beyond that. Despite this, Yoshiki tries to show no fear or pain, resisting to the best of his ability. This all comes to an abrupt end, however, when a heavily injured Ayumi is brought before him, begging to be put out of her misery. Yoshiki finally snaps, which seems to bring great joy to Sachiko. Wrong End 3 occurs if Ayumi and Yoshiki attempt to move the bucket from the locker room upon discovering Nana. The bucket is filled with nails, razors, and other sharp objects, all of which are rigged to spill down directly onto Nana's face. This trap is accidentally triggered in the attempts to move it, killing Nana quite gruesomely before there's any hope of saving her. Wrong End 4 occurs if Yoshiki chooses to venture down through the hole in the floor to retrieve whatever item it is that has fallen into it. Though he does successfully retrieve the bottle, the rope he attempts to climb back up on suddenly goes slack before he can make it back to his friends. He then hears Nana scream just as her heavily mutilated corpse falls down on top of him, followed by a rain of blood and the flesh from Mayu up above. Wrong End 5 occurs if the party fails to collect the student ID notebook from the entranceway and doesn't enter the science lab. Yoshikazu captures the already critically injured Nana and smashes into her stomach, more or less finishing her off. Yoshiki attempts to stop him, but is effortlessly flung away, falling through a hole in the ground for a fatal landing on the floor below. Mayu is then confronted by Sachiko and the other child spirits and recalls the events of her violent death in another timeline as those events begin to play out once more. Wrong End 6 occurs if the party enters the science lab without collecting the student ID notebook from the entranceway. A dead body tied up with wire is found on a chair in the lab, and Nana learns that it's her friend Nari Amaitoya. Her horror barely has time to set in, however, before Sachiko appears before her, bearing the head of her other friend she came here with, Chihaya Yamase. Sachiko begins playing with the head, causing Nana to pass out while Mayu and Yoshiki simply resign themselves to their inevitable fate. Alright, Chapter 3, Encounter. Satoshi has been requested to run an errand for Miss Yui, who is out from the school for the day with a cold. When he arrives, he is misidentified by his half-delirious teacher as her old crush, a boy named Tsukasa, and she grabs hold of him tightly. Satoshi realizes he can't just leave Miss Yui in this condition, so he sets about tending to her needs. We then take a look back at when Miss Yui was a high school student, scheduled to take her college entrance exams the very next day. She sets off in the morning out into the rain and encounters an old woman who warns her quite intently that she must not go to Heavenly Host Elementary. The woman then hands Yui a paper doll with her name written on it, but Yui is understandably creeped out and refuses to take it. She relays this experience to her friends during school break period and is told that one of the school's 7 wonders, Yoshi After School, is told about one of the school's 7 wonders, Yoshi After School. Supposedly on rainy days, at 7 in the evening, the spirit of a teacher named Yoshi who fell down the stairs and died long ago will appear. When Yui returned home from school, her mother informs her that the old woman from the morning had died. This, understandably, leaves Yui feeling rather unnerved. Come evening, Yui realizes she left Tsukasa's good luck pencil at school and returns to collect it. It's raining hard by this point and passes 7 around the time she successfully recovers the writing implement. Suddenly the lights go out and Yui senses a presence, so she hides under the teacher's desk, only to be discovered by the old woman that was from that morning. Frantically, she runs for dear life, but is caught at the entrance by none other than the Yoshi After School spirit from the school legend. Yui's arm is twisted and crushed, and she finds herself close to being killed before she is unexpectedly rescued by Tsukasa, just in the nick of time. The two of them run away, but it seems hopeless. They're out of options and moments away from facing their demise. Suddenly, the old woman from before shows up and disappears along with Yoshi. Immediately, Yui loses consciousness. She wakens in a bed in the school infirmary with Tsukasa at her side. Evidently, she had collapsed at the school gate, and the things she remembers happening conflict with Tsukasa's account of events. However, in her pocket is Tsukasa's lucky pencil. Wrong End 1 occurs if Yui recovers Tsukasa's pencil and then chooses to leave the classroom without first standing at the teacher's podium. As she attempts to leave, the door will close forcefully on her neck, ultimately decapitating her. Wrong End 2 occurs if Yui recovers Tsukasa's pencil and then chooses to hide in the supply locker. Yoshi shows up with a tremendous force manages to crush the locker itself and Yui with it. Wrong End 3 occurs if Yui recovers Tsukasa's pencil and hides under the teacher's desk, but then chooses to stay hidden there. Yoshi finds her, climbs on her back, and then gouges out her eyes with her witch-like fingernails, causing Yui to lapse into unconsciousness and pass away from blood loss. Wrong End 4 occurs if Yui recovers Tsukasa's pencil and hides under the teacher's desk, and then makes a break for it, but chooses the broom when forced to pick a weapon, or waits too long to choose and runs out of time. Yoshi captures Yui and lifts her into the air by her neck, ultimately breaking it. Wrong End 5 occurs if Yui chooses to prey upon the pencil during her fall when running from Yoshi. When she lands, the pencil jams itself into her throat, killing her. Chapter 4, Purgatory. Naho is a spiritual investigator and novelist, and Sayaka is a radio host and general talent. Together, they try to make time in their busy lives for one another, and after blowing off some steam at a concert, Sayaka tells Naho she'd really like to have her on a radio show as a special guest. Although initially hesitant, Naho ultimately consents since this is a request from her very bestest buddy. However, a spirit from Naho's investigation into Heavenly Host Elementary appears to her in the studio during the broadcast, presumably having followed her back from the other side. The director begins going into convulsions and ultimately needs to be taken to the hospital. Naho blames herself for this, saying that she should have never agreed to appear on the show, but Sayaka reassures her that she was a big help and promises to repay her for her kindness. It's at this point that Naho gets home and notices her mentor, Kuokabiki, is nowhere to be found. It seems he went to the spirit realm she was investigating, Heavenly Host Elementary, together with his cameraman Taguchi, but left Naho behind as to not put her in danger. Naho, panicked because she knows how dangerous Heavenly Host really is, asks Sayaka to go after Kabiki with her. A ritual called Sachiko Ever After must be performed in order to make the journey, and it requires more than one person. Sayaka, having just pledged a debt of gratitude to Naho, agrees to join her, without even knowing what she's getting herself into. Naho promises, after all, to protect Sayaka no matter what. And so Sayaka and Naho proceed into Heavenly Host. They're transported to two completely different locations, however, and after surviving a close encounter with Yoshikazu, Sayaka begins to wander the halls of the school in search for Naho. Her search proves fruitless, however, and she ultimately succumbs to exhaustion, among other things. Wrong End 1 occurs if Sayaka chooses to hide under the table in the dissection room rather than in the locker. Yoshikazu finds her and seals her up tightly in the metal locker before going back to finish off his original victim. He never returns to set her free, however, so Sayaka slowly withers away and dies inside the locker. Chapter 5, Shangri-La. The human remains smashed against the wall outside Heavenly Host Infirmary hold a particular fascination with Morishige, as he's not exactly sure why. There's just something about them that makes him endlessly interesting to him. We get only a small peek into this before we're instead shown Mitsuki, who's just woken up in the school and is completely alone. She wanders a bit and eventually finds her classmate Kensuke Kurosaki. He is, however, on the other side of an absolutely impossible gap, so in order to reunite with her properly, he proclaims that he's going to try to find an alternate road around. Mitsuki is then alone once more, and now left waiting for Kurosaki to show up. Fortunately, she doesn't have to wait alone for very long, as another classmate of hers, Masato Fukuroi, happens upon her location. While this is all occurring, we turn our attention back to Morishige, who has now crossed paths with Kukabiki's cameraman, Taguchi, in the school halls. Taguchi suggests that the two of them join forces and search for their friends/colleagues, but Morishige declines the offer, preferring to continue alone rather than with him. They do exchange information, however, and Morishige makes a promise to Taguchi that they'll meet up in a set location in exactly 1 hour, and with that, they part ways. Morishige continues searching for Mayu and finds her student ID booklet inside a large hole in the floor. He takes the fact that there aren't any dead bodies in the immediate vicinity to be a good sign, however, and continues moving forward in his search for Mayu, as optimistic as he can possibly be. It's at this point that he randomly runs into Mitsuki and Fukuroi and winds up joining them in their search for friends. In the outside pool area, they encounter their friend Emi Urabe passed out on the ground. She awakens but is completely out of her wits with fear, not even recognizing Mitsuki and Fukuroi. She simply darts off at the sight of them. Mitsuki and Fukuroi give chase. Meanwhile, Nadi and Chihaya are searching for Nana and happen upon an unconscious man, but are unable to reach him due to the holes in the floor. Morishige shows up at this point, however, and identifies the man as Taguchi. He picks up Taguchi's fallen camera and begins investigating the footage contained within. Nadi and Chihaya are horrified by the death and carnage on display, but Morishige is impressed and perhaps even a bit excited to see just how beautifully shot it all is. Witnessing this, the two girls begin to get creeped out by Morishige and run from him, but he pays this no mind. He simply sets Taguchi's camera back down where he found it and continues his search for Mayu. He can't seem to find her anywhere, though, and has become absolutely exhausted in the attempt, so he returns to the infirmary for a spell, where he stops to admire the body smashed against the wall once more. Wrong End 1 occurs if Mitsuki chooses to stand her ground after returning an ungrateful spirit's severed head and being banished to the underground. Fukuroi is dead with a broken neck, but Mitsuki wakes up in a reasonably good shape until Yoshikazu finds her and finishes her off. Wrong End 2 occurs if Mitsuki chooses to run after returning an ungrateful spirit's severed head and being banished to the underground. Fukuroi is dead with a broken neck, but Mitsuki does survive, and she's able to continue onward until a disguised Sachiko tricks her and gets her locked in the dissection room. Therein, she finds herself caught in a bear trap and then has the skin of her face slowly and painfully peeled off and shown to her before she eventually passes out and dies from blood loss. Wrong End 3 occurs if Mitsuki chooses to investigate the hole she finds in the bathroom stall and tells Fukuroi she sees someone else staring back from the other side. Fukuroi goes to confirm this, and an ice pick suddenly flies out from the hole, gouging his eye out. Yuki bursts forth from the stall and accuses Mitsuki of letting a boy into the girl's bathroom, stabbing her repeatedly until she blacks out. Wrong End 4 occurs when Morishige jumps into the hole to investigate what's inside. He discovers, among other things, Ayumi Shinazaki's mutilated corpse. He attempts to bite off a lock of her hair, ostensibly as a kindness for her bereaved family, but can't quite seem to get it loose, so he decides to try taking her tongue instead. He notices that it's already gone, however, and settles on taking a tooth, but by this point he's already lost his mind and fully succumbed to the darkening. Wrong End 5 occurs if Morishige's darkening reaches capacity during his section of the chapter. He passes out, awakening sometime later in a room with Sachiko, as well as an unfamiliar girl, Emi Urabe, bound to a table by both of her arms and legs. Sachiko begins torturing her, and Morishige gets progressively more excited as he watches. Sachiko asks him if he'd like a turn, and with no discernible hesitation, he responds. Wrong End 6. Only available after clearing the chapter normally, occurs if Mitsuki decides to run to the second floor when chasing after Emi, then chooses to use the alcohol lamp. She throws the alcohol lamp at Yoshikazu, lighting him aflame. However, he quickly grabs a hold of her, burning her as well. Badly burned, he torments her with his hammer briefly before bringing it down on her head, immediately killing her. Wrong End 7. Only available after clearing the chapter normally, occurs if Mitsuki decides to run to the second floor when chasing after Emi, but does not use the alcohol lamp. Yoshikazu captures her and takes her to a room where she sees a girl, Sachiko, has just boiled alive. Sachiko then taunts Mitsuki, stating that she's next, and the chapter ends with the sound of boiling flesh. Wrong End 8 occurs if Morishige chooses to look behind him after finding a note that reads, "Whatever you do, don't look behind you." When he does, he sees Mitsuki, and the two of them travel together for a short while. Eventually, Mitsuki exhibits odd behaviors and even begins to call him Shig, just like Mayu always did. It's revealed that Mitsuki is actually Sachiko in disguise, and she melts away, leaving Morishige to wallow in sorrow as he learns the truth about what happened to Mayu. Chapter 6, Mide. Yuka, having gotten herself separated from Satoshi, joins forces with Yuya Kazami in order to find him once more. Kazami quickly reveals his true colors, however, and Yuka runs from him in terror. In the end, she's unable to get away and winds up falling unconscious. When she wakes up, she finds herself tied on a desk in the science lab. Kazami regards her as his dear little sister and torments her into a frenzied panic while demanding she call him Big Brother. She refuses, so he begins to strangle her and also uses a knife to cut a hole in her uniform. Even despite all this, she continues to call for help from Satoshi, which causes Kazami further annoyance, making him even more violent. Eventually, Yuka pees herself in fear, and Kazami feels a touch of pity for her, which surprises and alarms him. Ever since he was a young boy, he's never been able to feel sympathy or sorrow for others, which resulted in a variety of sociopathic behaviors. Due to this, his parents largely focused their love and attention on his brother and sister rather than him, and he began to put a mask in his daily existence, striving to blend in as he casually observed the world around him. After arriving in Heavenly Host and actually committing murder, Kazami's general outlook didn't see any change, but then he met Yuka. Sweet, helpless Yuka. He thought for a moment that perhaps she could forgive his sins and change him for the better, but facing rejection even from her, he knows he has no choice but to stay the course and end her life. He hesitates, however, tormented by his emotions and unable to control his thoughts and feelings, and in that brief moment, Yoshikazu suddenly appears from the shadows and strikes him down. Evidently, Yoshikazu has been sent to kill Yuka, but in the moment, he instead chooses to defy his orders and uses his hammer to break Yuka's bonds, setting her free. Ordered again to kill her, Yoshikazu suffers a brief crisis of conscience, during which time Yuka is able to successfully escape the room. She fervently pursues Satoshi, having caught a glimpse of him in the corridors, but loses her balance when a sudden earthquake strikes, causing her to fall into the school's basement. There, she encounters a little girl who agrees to help her search for Satoshi, though she has no idea it's actually Sachiko in disguise. During the search, Sachiko begins to complain that her feet are cold and that they hurt, causing Yuka to relinquish both her socks and shoes. Each time Sachiko makes a request of her, Yuka finds herself a little less able to resist offering her the things Sachiko is missing, so when Sachiko claims that she now wants life, Yuka is yet again unable to resist, offering up her own life in compliance. Wrong End 1 occurs if Yuka chooses to run for the door immediately after Kazami is taken out by Yoshikazu. With her hands and feet all numb from being tied up, she is unable to run very well and is easily caught by Yoshikazu. He proceeds to smash her arms and legs, and to quell her last desperate attempt at escape, he aims his hammer at her head next. Wrong End 2 occurs if Yuka's darkening reaches capacity any time shortly after Kazami is taken out by Yoshikazu. Upon becoming darkened, Yuka loses consciousness, calling out for her big brother one last time before she succumbs completely. Wrong End 3 occurs if Yuka's darkening reaches capacity anytime after she falls to the underground and is locked into the dissection room. Upon becoming darkened, Yuka loses consciousness and her story comes to an abrupt end. Chapter 7, Tooth. Okay. Also featured with alternate gameplay as an extra chapter in the original Windows PC version of Corpse Party, in the student council room at Byakuden Senior High, it's business as usual with Toko talking to Kurosaki about her desire to confess her feelings to Kazami. This is revealed to be a mere memory of happier times, however, experienced from within Heavenly Host, where things are decidedly less ordinary and certainly not happy. Katayama has gotten himself caught in a trap which tore his right leg off at the knee. This leads the Byakuden crew to redouble their efforts toward escape, yet also ensure those efforts can't be too hasty, lest someone else fall to a similar trap. Toko, Kazami, and Shimada elect to set off in a search for an exit, and they are able to successfully locate the school's entranceway, which proves somewhat surprisingly to be unlocked. Here, Shimada decides it's every man for himself, fleeing into the forest alone while Toko and Kazami double back to get the others. On their way back, they hear Mitsuki's voice from downstairs, but decide to quickly inform the others of their findings before following it. Upon doing so, they learn that Katayama is progressing poorly, his wounds festering to the point that he can't speak anymore. Toko is still concerned about Mitsuki, however, so she leaves Katayama in Kazumi's care and goes off to find her missing classmate. She's unsuccessful, however, and upon returning yet again, she learns that Katayama has just died, and Okawa is unwilling to leave his side. It's around this time that the child spirits show up again, having caught Shimada and killed him with his own hunting knife. Emi rushes back to warn Okawa of the danger, not knowing what else to do, and though Toko tries to follow, Kazami stops her, telling her to wait where she is in order to stay out of harm's way. Toko concedes, but after hearing Emi scream, she runs over anyway. The first thing she hears and sees at this point is Okawa on the landing, loudly proclaiming with an incredulity and horror that Kazumi is a murderer. Next to him lay the corpse of Katayama. Okawa is staring directly at Kazama, who's standing at the top of the stairs looking menacingly down at him. Next to Kazami is Emi, who looks utterly terrified as well. She quickly bounds down the stairs and informs Toko that Kazami kicked Katayama's body down the landing. Okawa takes off running, and Toko does the same. Together with Emi, Toko is still unable to believe that Kazami would do such a thing. However, so she splits off from Emi to confront him. Before she knows it, however, Kazami is behind her, brandishing Shimada's hunting knife. He seems content to pass her by, but she begs him to drop the knife, at which point he strikes her with all the force he can muster. Fearful and panicked, Toko begins to flee once more. She notices in her mad dash to escape that the blow from Kazami knocked out one of her teeth loose, but she has no time to nurse it as long as Kazami is in hot pursuit. She's able to successfully hide from him in the infirmary, but inadvertently drops her tooth along the way. Kazami finds it and proceeds to put it in his mouth and crunch it with his own teeth, seemingly savoring the sensation. Wrong end one occurs if Toko stares at the face of the child spirit that appears on the stairs. Doing so causes the spirit to capture her, and she is swiftly and mercilessly killed. Chapter 8, Blood Drive. Naomi stands in front of Seiko's house, intent on questioning Seiko's siblings about their no longer existent sister. She's stopped before she gets a chance by Ayumi, however, who already knows what they're going to say. The two of them begin discussing Sachiko and Yoshi Shinozaki, the roots of this curse, and an interesting proposition is made, that the two of them visit the house where Sachiko and Yoshi used to live. Their course of action decided upon, they travel to the train station nearest the last known whereabout of the Shinozaki legacy and begin questioning the locals. Unfortunately, each time the Shinozaki name comes up, they're shut down. No one wants to discuss the family's affairs, and no one trusts those who dare mention that accursed lineage. That is, until a passing car stops, and its driver offers a ride to Ayumi and Naomi, as he's heading to a location near the site of the old Shinozaki estate anyway. He takes them as far as his car will follow, then lets them out and agrees to wait for the return. They thank him, and after a short mountain climb, find a clearing in the trees that reveals the Shinozaki family's old barn alongside a lot where the estate itself once stood, an estate that was demolished long ago. The barn still has electricity, fortunately, so the two are able to thoroughly explore it, but there's really nothing of interest therein. They proceed back down to the car, only to find it with its engine running and its doors locked, yet no driver anywhere to be seen. They wait for the driver to return, but he never does, and the sun is setting fast. Concerned for their safety, they decide to return to the barn, where there's at least light, but the path, which was an easy climb by day, proves quite impossible to navigate under the shroud of night. No matter how they try, they constantly find themselves circling back to the car every time they attempt to make any headway. After much frustration and panic, they finally manage to escape the clutches of the Lost Woods and return to the barn, where a peculiar sight greets them. The estate itself, which wasn't there during the day, now present and accounted for on the formerly empty lot, surrounded by an unearthly glow and slightly hovering. The two girls hesitantly venture inside. Therein, Ayumi and Naomi locate Yoshi's room, as well as the proxy doll for Sachiko Ever After that Naho must have found during her investigation here. From Yoshi's room, there's a secret staircase leading down into the house's basement, where the Shinozaki family tree is quickly discovered, and Ayumi learns that she shares a bloodline with Yoshi and Sachiko. Then, all of a sudden, an intense pain shoots through Ayumi's head, accompanied by an unknown voice. Naomi attempts to shake some sense back into Ayumi, but Ayumi quickly overpowers her and begins trying to rip the rotted wooden boards from the wall. This reveals a hidden room, and within that room sits a book upon a table, the Book of Shadows. The Book of Shadows is a physical manifestation of the wisdom possessed by real-life magic users, and notably contains a spell for raising the dead. Somewhat against their better judgment, Ayumi and Naomi attempt to make use of this spell to undo the tragic results of their foray into Heavenly Host Elementary. They decide to start with Mayu Suzumoto, and while the book's text is far from clear and mostly written in French, Yoshi's Japanese notes along the margins of each page help ensure that the main crux of what's written can be understood. The rituals takes hours to chant, but Ayumi finally finishes. Moments later, footsteps can be heard from up above, which begin slowly descending the stairs into the basement. Once the source of those footsteps comes into view, Ayumi and Naomi both breathe a sigh of relief, as the form they see before them is Mayu Suzumoto, wearing her school uniform. The spell worked. Or so it seemed. It only takes a moment to notice that whatever was raised is missing its face, with nothing more than a black void where it should be. This Mayu-like creature begins emitting a scream of primal agony as markings appear on her neck, arms, and thighs. She writhes a bit, and then blood begins spurting from the marked areas as her body bursts open. The spell was actually a miserable, cruel failure. As if this wasn't bad enough, Ayumi falls to her knees, markings appearing in the same spots on her body as they did on the part of the Mayu homunculus, with the blood beginning to gush forth from them, just as it did moments ago with Mayu. Small saw blades begin materializing as well, striking Ayumi's arms, triggering screams of raw pain, fear, and confusion. Finally, the markings that appeared on the neck of Mayu homunculus immediately prior to its explosion begin to appear on Ayumi's neck as well, signaling that the end was near. It's at this moment that Ayumi's older sister Hinoe suddenly bursts into the scene and covers Ayumi's body, shielding her from the horrors all around. Ayumi is saved. She clings to Hinoe and begins to cry, looking up into her sister's eyes. Then, with a fountain of blood, Hinoe's head separates from her body and falls away. And that was where Book of Shadows ended. Alright, Shinozaki family tree. So we've got Zion, who then had Seira, who was the head of the family, and her first daughter was Raki, who died of illness, but she had Yoshi, who had Sachiko. Her second daughter was Makina, who died of illness and didn't have any children, and her third daughter was Chizuru, who died of, and her husband Tadanari, who died of, Kaun died of illness, and Seiji, which is Yoshi's husband. Okay, I missed that. Okay, so Chizuru's husband was Tadanari, and he died of illness, and they had 4 daughters. They had Yuri, who married Tadashi, who died of illness. They had Yoko, who married Yuki, who died in an accident. They had Jin, who didn't marry, and they had Kanai, who married Horohito, who died of illness. And they had Ayato, who married Asuka, and they had 2 daughters, Ayumi and Hinoe. So yeah, it's not even that far off from each other. And the view of a timeline of the Corpse Party series events. 1952, April 1st of 1952, Heavenly Host Elementary opens. July 19th of 1953, the school nurse dies tragically. Sachiko goes missing. September of 1973, serial kidnappings and murder incident occurs. 4 victims confirmed. September 18th, 1973, 3 found dead, 1 survives. Yoshikazu Yanagihori apprehended. It didn't give a date for September, the last one, okay. February 20th, 1974, Yoshikazu Yanagihori commits suicide in an underground room. November 18th, 1975, Heavenly Host Elementary closes. November 19th, 1975, school principal Takamine Yanagihori ends his life by leaping from the school roof. April 1st, 1978, Kisaragi Academy opens at former site of Heavenly Host. 27th of October 2008, Kisaragi Academy 38th Annual Culture Festival takes place. Okay, that was pretty simple. Okay, what's in the notes and journals? What is this? Heavenly Host post. 3rd student reported missing. One by one, the young students of Heavenly Host school seems to be disappearing, as now the 3rd student has joined the ranks of the missing. Classmates testify that the 5th grader was on her way home from school but got separated from her friends in the hall and hasn't been seen since. Police are investigating the possibility of a serial kidnapping and have assigned countless investigators to the case in the hopes of a speedy resolution. However, 10 days have already passed since the first disappearance, giving parents and classmates ample cause for concern. Heavenly Post 2. Heavenly Post. Breaking news, serial kidnapping ends in murder. Over the past month, numerous children have gone missing within the town, and authorities quickly turned to kidnapping as the most likely explanation. Now investigators have located the whereabouts of these children, and their findings are far worse than anyone could have anticipated. The bodies of the absconded youth were discovered within the Heavenly Host Elementary School building on September 18, 1973 at around 7 p.m. Authorities further revealed that the male instructor from the school was found with them, alive but near as catatonic, holding a pair of bloodied scissors. Each of the corpses appeared to have had its tongue severed and removed, something mutilations far too grotesque to describe. Heavenly Post 3. Heavenly Post, 4 children abducted, follow-up report. The brutal, shocking deaths of the recent kidnapped school graders have now been traced back to the hands of the instructor found in the room with them. The scissors he held are confirmed to have been used to cut out the victims' tongues, ultimately leading to death through excessive bleeding or choking. One of the victims even had the majority of her head slowly and methodically removed. This cranial mass was found on the floor next to her body. The Heavenly Host Elementary students pictured here are the 4 who were found in that basement room. Of these children, one was Sachiko Shinozaki, or one was alive, when investigators arrived at the scene of the crime. She was covered in blood. In the blood of her classmates, I'm assuming. Okay, are we done with all the extra stuff now? Cool. Oh wait, character dossiers. Oh, we don't get them until we start playing. Thank God. Okay, can we actually play the game now? It's literally been an hour. New game.
Soon. Soon. 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Heavenly Host Elementary. A hell that exists beyond the concept of place, where the dead roam free and eternally torment the living. And our story begins when the one who rules over this hell, Sachiko, the girl in the red dress, suddenly lost consciousness and fell to the floor. The child spirits who were bound by the curse of the school were all gathered around her quizzically. And the oldest among them, Yuki, reached out her hand to touch Sachiko's shoulder, almost as if in worry. Only for Sachiko to spring her own arm up and grab hold of Yuki's encroaching hand with a single motion, glaring at her prey with bloodshot eyes. Perhaps glaring is too gentle a word. From betwixt her black strands of hair, eyes like daggers shot at Yuki, boring through her already hollowed cranium. However...
Yuki-chan, ohayo.
Yuki, good morning. In the next instant, the expression on Sachiko's face changed to a smile, not unlike that of an ordinary child. It was an infectious smile, too. Yuki, Ryo, and Tokiko, all lit up like candles from its glow. Chapter 0, Hysteric Birthday. Sachiko then turned for a moment to face the calendar on the wall, and as if on cue, the old date listed thereupon tore away and drifted to the floor. As it fluttered with a faint, crinkling sound, the newly reborn calendar now proudly displayed its new moniker, July 19th.
Yatta! 今年も来たよ、Sachikoの誕生日! Finally, it's here. At long last, my birthday! Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Good job, Yoshikazu.
Arigato. Thanks.
Sachi. Happy birthday.
お母さん抱っこ。Hugsies, mommy. いい子ね。今日一日だけは楽しく過ごしましょう。
What a good girl you are. Today, while we can, let's make sure to have a fun time together all day long.
なんて言うんだっけ、お母さん。捕まっている人を許してあげるのって。You bet. What's it called again, Mommy? When you let people you're captured off the hook? 恩赦かしら?
Amnesty, perhaps?
それ。今日はみんなに恩赦を出すよ。
Yeah, that's it. Today, I'm gonna give everybody lots of amnesty.
まだ死んでない人たち全員、体育館に集めておいて。
Gather everyone who's not dead yet in the gym for me, okay?
楽しいお誕生日になるといいわね。
I certainly hope this proves to be a memorable birthday for her. When I came to, I found myself in a very spacious but dimly lit building. The ceiling above me had to have been a good 30 feet or more off the ground, with rows of lights evenly spaced along its entire area. And the floor below me was clearly varnished, shining with a glossy finish. I lifted my head a bit and surveyed the area in front of me, and the first thing I saw was a stage flanked on both sides by drawn red curtains. and right in the middle of it was a podium, like the kind you typically see in typically see principals standing behind as they introduce themselves to new classes. Okay, music. So I'm in an auditorium? The rain was coming down in sheets outside, and the steady pitter-patter of it on the roof filled this entire massive space with a deceptive calmness. On either side of the room, a plastic basketball hoop stretched its way up towards the ceiling, eagerly reaching it like its players might. This space served as a gymnasium and auditorium both, so like many others did in school buildings from throughout the mid-20th century. Still here. This can only be Heavenly Host Elementary. Damn it. Because I still wasn't able to stop the Sachiko Ever After ritual. I couldn't remember anything clearly, but I had the distinct sensation that this was not my first time experiencing the events of this particular day. Somehow I could just feel it. And I knew that was a few short hours ago. In our plain old familiar classroom 2-9, my friends all performed the ritual that sealed us here in this horrible place. It was called Sachiko Ever After, and try as I might, I couldn't stop them. I knew, too. I knew this was what was going to happen. But something was different this time around. Wait, an auditorium? I don't think I've ever been in this room before. There were a lot of other people around as well. Students from a variety of different schools, most wearing uniforms I didn't recognize. For all the world, it looked and felt just like a Monday morning assembly. And I clearly wasn't the only one confused by what was happening. Everyone was looking around in a daze, as if they'd all just woken up. I remember being transported here to Heavenly Host Elementary, and I remember leaving classroom 1A with Yuka. But then there was a chime and a big earthquake, and all of a sudden I was here. Hold on, where's everybody else? Where's the rest of 2-9? Looking closely, I could see a handful of students wearing the uniform of Byakuten Senior High School, which wasn't far from ours. I even recognized a uniform or two from Paolonia Academy High School, I think. We'd just had mixers with them in the past. Or we'd had mixers with them in the past. But where was Kisaragi? Had the others not been brought here this time? Was I the only one? Satoshi, are you okay? Mochida!
Naomi!
From deep within the throng of unfamiliar faces, Naomi and Shinohara came barreling towards me. The sight of friends amidst this chaos energized me, as if lifting a cloud from my heart. Forgetting for a moment that Naomi was a girl, I rushed to greet her and hugged her with all of my might. You have no idea how worried I was. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. Most likely, she'd been subjected to unspeakable horrors in this school until just a few moments ago, just as Yuka and I had. Are you alright? You're not injured or anything, are you? No. How about you, Shinohara? Are you okay? I'm fine, but more importantly, Naomi, you'd better not let go. Huh? Oh no! Naomi quickly pushed herself away. Shinohara was staring with her with an impish grin on her face, but she too had tears welling in her eyes. Big brother! Mochida! Yuka, Shinosaki, Suzumoto, and Miss Yui were all together and seemed to have noticed us all at once. They came running over to join the reunion.
Yuka! Yui-sensei!
Yuka, Miss Yui!
Big brother, are you okay?
Satoshi, Mochida! You guys!
Yoshiki! Shinosaki! Suzumoto! 森重も
Yoshiki, Shinozaki, Suzumoto, and Morishige
み
too!
んな無事だったんだな。
I'm so glad you're all safe.
バカね、サトシ。何泣いてんのよ。
What are you crying for, Satoshi? That look does not suit you at all.
ひでえ顔だぜ、サトシ。
Your face is really kind of a disaster right now, man.
なんだよ、みんなこそ。くそ。会いたかったんだからな。
Don't think you guys look any better. Man, I'm so worried about all of you.
持田くん。
Mochida. We'd been told that even though the 9 of us were all here in the same school, we existed in separate closed spaces and may never meet again. Yet here we were, no, not in separate dimensions closed off from one another, but gathered together in the same space and even the same room. We were still trapped in Heavenly Host Elementary, but my dearest wish to be able to see my friends once more had actually come to pass. So yeah, I was crying. I couldn't stop the tears from gushing out of my eyes even if I wanted to. We all slung our arms around one another's shoulders and enjoyed this first real moment of happiness any of us had experienced since this ordeal began. No! Sayaka? Other voices indicating similar teary reunions could be heard here and there throughout the auditorium. It seemed everyone here was in a similar situation to our own. And it was kind of strange. I recognized some of them, as if I'd met them in another life, yet all of the others in attendance were complete strangers.
一体どうなっているんだ。
So, what's actually happening?
気絶している間に誰かに意図的に集められないとこうはならないだろう。
Someone must have intentionally gathered us all together and here while we were unconscious. It's about the only way a situation like this could come about.
そうね。再会はできたけれど、見たところ天神小学校から出られたわけでもないから、手放しで喜べる状況でないことは確かだわ。
That's true. I'm glad we were all able to reunite like this, but we certainly still haven't escaped Heavenly Host, so we shouldn't get our hopes up yet.
みんな、まだ気を緩めないで。
We have to keep ourselves on alert, okay? Why had we been assembled here? What was going to happen to us? I had a bad feeling about this, and I clearly wasn't the only one. A collective shudder ran through the room. Yukes? Yuka turned around to address the familiar voice that had spoken her name. It was, for some reason, her classmate Satsuki Mizuhara. Nonchalantly munching on potato chips from a bag she seemed to have just taken out of the cupboard. Huh? Satsuki, why are you here? Not really sure. I was picking out a home, and then all of a sudden, I was here. Or here I was. Speaking of, what is this place? We spun ourselves around to see what had produced that ear-splitting feedback pulse. And there, standing upon the auditorium stage, was an enormous speaker. In line with it was the podium noted earlier, as well as a mysterious announcement board covered up with red cloth. Has that been here this whole time? May I have your attention, please, everyone? Have you all come too? Who's there? And where are you talking to us from? Everyone in the room began looking around frantically for any sign of the person speaking to them. Quiet now. Quiet, please. Eyes forward, everyone. It's good manners to look someone in the eyes when they're speaking to you. Maybe we would, if there were fucking someone there to look at. As usual, Yoshiki did not mince words, but his protests were met by a close encounter with a metal hammer, which came whizzing towards him from the stage, spinning wildly through the air. It was positively massive, almost unimaginably so. and the aim was spot on. It landed right at Yoshiki's feet, easily sinking itself deep into the floorboards where it remained, standing upright. Yoshiki fell to his knees, absolutely paralyzed with fear. What the hell is that thing? A giant man, Yoshikazu Yanagihori, was standing on one wing of the stage. He approached the podium at center stage and lifted up a very little girl from behind it, propping her up on his arm so the crowd could see her clearly. Was she here this whole time? She's so tiny. Yoshikazu's response to the murmuring crowd was to stamp his feet hard and let out a bellowing roar, instantly silencing the room. Ah, there's the familiar music. Oh, never mind.
Thank you all for being here today and for all your hard work up till now. You've done well to loop your way through this day again and again. This time will be a little different though. This loop is special. Once today ends, everything will go back to normal like this day never happened. It's kind of, a series of unlikely events. Side stories, maybe? No, that's not it. Shindig? I think the word for it is anthology or something. And there are people present for it you'll probably never be able to meet again, so be sure to enjoy yourselves while you can, okay?
What the hell?
Today is my birthday, you see? So I want everybody to have a really good time.
Have a good time? With what? What are you talking about? You want us to have fun?
What does that mean?
We need to be careful. This could be a trap. That girl. I think she's... You know her, Kazami?
Allow me to explain. See, you're gonna put on a culture festival for me today.
So, what's all this about then?
Mitsuhara, no talking during the assembly.
Satsuko quickly threw or something at Satsuki's direction with deadly accuracy. It was chalk. It smacked her right in the forehead with a fleshy split, and then down she went. Excuse me?
Yes, Polonia Academy High School Class 2-1 Sayaka Ue?
It was one of the girls from another school. She'd raise her hand enthusiastically as if this were a proper class and she was aiming for high marks. Sachiko seemed to take well to this, pointing at the girl named Sayaka Ue and urging her to state her business. Well, she couldn't possibly know the names of every one of the victims trapped in here, could she? Naomi seemed to be studying the girl closely.
I'd like to go home, please.
That seemed like not such a smart thing to say. But Sachiko just swatted the idea away like it was a pesky fly, without even flinching, and without ever losing her smile.
Nope, that's not allowed.
You think we'd give a shit about your birthday? Just let us go home, goddammit! As the boy with the red hair, Kaik Shimada, spat out his demand, the rest of the attendees became riled up and began making similar demands of their own. Sachiko raised her hand slowly, pointing at Shimada before hastily swinging it downward. It would become clear why in just a moment. Who the fuck do you even think you are? What gives you the right to make fools of us like this, you little bitch? One of the lights from almost directly above Shimada came crashing to the floor with a tremendous force, brushing up against his cheek on the way down. In a state of absolute shock, a cold sweat immediately formed on his body, and he collapsed to the ground in a heap.
During morning assembly, please raise your hand if you wish to speak.
But no one else raised their hands. No one else uttered even a single peep. In fact, the room felt dead silent. Somehow, this made Satsuko smile all the more menacing. Then, finally, the silence was broken.
Over here? Yes, Musashiga Girls Middle School Class 1-4, Nana Ogasawara. What do you intend for us to do at this culture festival? Ooh, what a good question. Teacher loves students who pay attention.
Sachiko raised her hand again with a flourish, and the cloth covering the board beside her fell away. Upon it was a hand-drawn map of the school that was somehow simultaneously joyous and extremely creepy.
I call it Heavenly Host and Sachiko present Chew Them Up and Spit Them Out, the Great Confinement of Rotting Flesh Festival, Summer Edition. I thought it was a really good name.
Yoshikazu Yanagihori once again bellowed at the crowd and slammed his foot upon the floor with all of his might. It was such a powerful stomp, in fact, that the whole room shook for several seconds afterward, the lights above clinking unsettlingly the whole time.
Clap, everybody, clap!
Yay! Sachiko's smile couldn't have been any wider, or, surprisingly, any purer. She shifted her weight a bit and hopped over to the podium for a better, more central seat from which to address her captive audience. And then suddenly, she pointed towards the presentation board with a conductor's stick she'd somehow procured.
As you can see, I've painstakingly prepared a full course of recreational activities for you all. And I've also listed out which students will be participating in each of these activities. Where you all wish to begin entertaining yourselves is more or less up to you.
She was about to say challenging, wasn't she? And what does she mean by more or less? It was pretty clear these weren't going to be quite as fun or entertaining for us as we were being so poorly led to believe.
Also, since the time axis has gone screwy, the connections between dimensions may get all messed up, but if so, don't worry about it, it's fine.
Fine for you, matey! Yoshiki barked out his misgivings despite himself.
Also, we've all got here by performing a charm, right? Well, today we have some extra special guests joining us too. These are people you might share a connection with. I suspect the surprise may have been spoiled for a few of you though when you saw one of our surprise guests earlier.
Yuka turned to look at Satsuki. So, friends?
Domo!
Oh, pleased to meet you all. Sorry.
Since I haven't been able to connect with these people on a spiritual level, they're just here for the day. When the date changes, they get to go home. course, if they die, they stay here forever, so be careful, okay?
ここにいるのはもしかして、シシド?
Hey, you wouldn't happen to be Shishido, would you? Tsukasa? The complete and utter shock in her voice was beyond apparent. Suddenly there stood Mikuni Tsukasa, decked out in a school uniform exactly as Yui remembered him from her own school days.
やっぱり? なんでお前大人になってるんだ?
So, you are her then? Why are you an adult?
わかんないけど、司くん高校の時のままなんだ。かわいい。
I don't really know. It's really him. It's Tsukasa, still a high school student, just like I remember. He's so cute.
Hi. I have a question. Yes, Kisaragi Academy Senior High School Class 29 Mayu Suzumoto? 幸子さん、せっかく楽しい一日にするのなら、もっと明るいタイトルの方がいいと思うの。Sachiko, if you really do want this to be a day of fun activities, maybe it could stand to have a brighter, peppier title?
Nana, Chihaya, and Nari all nodded in agreement for some reason.
Like what exactly? そうね。幸子のヒステリックバースデーなんてどうかな。Well, how about Sachiko's hysteric birthday?
The audience certainly seemed to like it, but then Mayu was in his theater club, so it only stood to reason. She knew how to sell an idea. Bit by bit, as she surveyed the applauding students, the look on Sachiko's face changed from one of a pouty dejection to pure, unbridled enthusiasm.
Yes, that's perfect. That's what we'll call it.
She most likely had no clue what hysteric meant. And Yoshiki, Shimada, and Morishige weren't exactly on board with the idea, a fact which they made abundantly clear.
Mayu, お前何考えてるんだ? あいつは俺たちを閉じ込めた敵なんだぞ.
Mayu, what are you thinking? That's our enemy, the one who trapped us here.
わかってる。私だって怖いよ。でもね、なんか寂しいのかなって。I know, and I'm scared too, but I feel like she's probably pretty lonely herself, you know?
例に同情しすぎちゃいけないって言うだろ. こんな空気に飲まれちゃダメだ.
You mustn't empathize with evil spirits, though. You don't want to get swallowed up into this heavy atmosphere, do you?
わかってないのは森重くんの方かもしれないよ。
I think you're the one who doesn't get it, Morishige.
あの例の隙をつくためにとりあえず従っておくふりをするって手もあるわ。それぐらい何よ。私平気。
If we play along with her games, we can try to find a chance to surpass her. It's a very valid tactic, and, well, I, for one, have no problem with it.
じゃあ開幕だよ。ヒステリックバースデー And now, without further ado, I present to you my hysteric birthday.
Air horns, okay.
なんだこの音は? ラップ?
What in the world is this? Rap?
なんでラップ?
Why though?
定常だけにラップ
You do often hear about unexplained rapping in haunted places, lol.
なんか怖いこと言ってるぞ、歌詞
Those lyrics are creeping me out though. Positively beaming now, Sachiko turned her head to look at something farther back on the stage. Was she looking at her mom?
To make things extra special, I'll be picking the first amusement myself. Let's see now.
She suddenly had a knife in her hands and was tossing and catching it absent-mindedly as she considered her options. She then swung back around triumphantly.
I think I'm in the mood for a nice romantic comedy. Didn't you hear me? I said I'm in the mood for a romantic comedy.
ラブコメだ
A romantic comedy? Seriously?
ラブコメ。学園ラブコメって今すごく人気あるんでしょ？
A romantic comedy. Romantic comedies with school settings are really big right now, aren't they?
まあ、そうだな。
Oh, yeah, I guess.
でも俺とラブコメに何の関係があるんだ
What the hell role am I supposed to play in a romantic comedy?
まあ、俺と篠崎が主人公っていうなら悪くねえ気もするが。
I mean, I guess if Shinozaki and I are the stars, it wouldn't be so bad.
今、岸沼くんこっちを見た？まあ、気のせいよね。
Did Kishinuma just look over at me? Nah, must be my imagination.
ってなこっぱずかしい真似できるかっての
No, there's no way I could pull something like that off. It'd be way too embarrassing.
岸沼くんなんか怒ってる？
He seems kinda angry or something.
ね、人気があるってことは、すごく面白いってことよね。
See? And for those kinds of stories to be that popular, they must be pretty funny, right?
かもな。
Maybe.
じゃあ見せてくれるよね。
So you'll perform one for me then, won't you?
ま、内容次第じゃねえのか。
That kinda depends on the script, I guess.
テクノボ、例のものを配ってちょうだい。
Hey, blockheads, start passing them out. Yoshikazu Yanagihori began handing copies of the thin, offset book to each person in attendance. Each beautifully bound mini tome was adorned with gaudy decorations highlighting the title of the work contained
なん
within.
だこれ。台本ってやつか。
The hell is this? Is this literally a script?
天神小学校ハーレムスクールデイズ。ラブラブ大作戦だ
Heavenly Host Elementary's Harem School Days, The Great Love Love Maneuver?
面白そうなタイトルでしょ？
Pretty cool title, don't you think?
ラブコメとか詳しくねえけど、ろくでもねえタイトルだってのはわかるぜ。
I don't know a lot about romantic comedies, but I know a garbage title when I hear one.
俺主役なのか？
Huh? I'm the lead?
まあ、そうみたいだな。
Yep, looks that way.
まあ、別にいいけどよ。俺が主役ってのも変な感じだしな。
Probably for the best, honestly. Be a weird-ass romantic comedy with me in the lead.
他に出るのは中島に篠崎。
The other principal characters are Nakashima, Shinozaki...
篠崎も出るのか。
Wait.
ってことは、ハーレムの一員
Wait, Shinozaki's in it too? As a member of the harem?
なんか気分悪いぜ。って、続き。
I do not like where this is going. Who else is in this cast? Gotta keep reading.
それにゆい先生に、ゆうかもいるのか。へえ、他にも結構出んだな。
Miss Yui too? And Yuka? Man, the list just keeps on growing.
桐崎東子って誰だ
Who-
それに、水原さつきってゆかの友達だっけ
Who's Toko Kurosaki? And Satsuki Mitsuhara is Yuki's friend, right?
まあ、とりあえず中身見てみるか。
I guess I should check out the actual script to see what happens to everybody.
んだってこれサトシが理由もなくモテモテになるだけじゃねえか
The hell is this tripe? This is just Satoshi literally getting every single girl here for no good reason whatsoever.
だってラブコメってそういうものだよね。主人公が大した理由もなくモテるものでしょ。
Isn't that what romantic comedies are, though? The main guy is super popular with every girl for no reason at all.
かもしれねえがこんなもの篠崎たちにやらせられっかよ
Okay, sure, granted, but still, you can't really plan to make Shinozaki and the other girls play along with this crap.
私は別にいいけど。
I honestly don't mind.
本当にいいのかよ篠崎ハーレムだぞハーレム
Are you serious? It's a harem romance, Shinozaki, a freaking harem. I mean, it is what it is, right?
じゃあもしかして中島もか？
Gee, don't tell me, Nakashima, that you're cool with this too.
私も主人公がサトシだったらいいかな。あ、別に変な意味じゃなくて、知らない人だと怖いってだけだけど。
Yeah, as long as it's Satoshis the lead, I don't mind at all. I mean, I'm not saying, I just mean it's better than if it were a stranger, right?
ゆかもか？
And what about you, Yuka?
まだ台本読んでないけど、お兄ちゃんとならいいかなって。Huh? I haven't read the script yet, but if it's with Big Brother, I don't mind one bit.
ゆい先生もかよ！
And you too, Miss Yui?
岸沼くん、私まだ何も言ってないのに、なんで怒ってるの？
Huh, Kishinuma, I haven't said a word yet. Why are you getting so angry?
先生も賛成なのかよ？
Just answer the question, Miss Yui. Do you accept this script?
もろ手を挙げて賛成ってことはないけど、怖いのよりはいいんじゃないかしら。
I'm not wholeheartedly embracing it, no, but it's better than any of that scary stuff at least, right?
みんなは言ってるけど。
Well, seems everybody else is on board.
うるせえ！篠崎たちがいいと言ってもこの俺は認めねえぞ！
You shut your goddamn mouth. I don't care if every girl here is okay with it. I'm not.
兄ちゃんさっきと言ってること違う。
You were just against it before, though, Big Brother.
そうよ、岸沼くん。何を熱くなってるの？
That's right, Kishinuma. What's gotten you so uptight?
篠崎ちっちゃい人間と思われるかもしれないが、俺はお前がサトシと仲良くするところなんて見たくないんだよ。
It might make me a smaller person, but I just don't want to have to watch you get close to Satoshi like that.
とにかく俺はこんな茶番には付き合わないからな。
I don't care if you understand. I, for one, won't be a part of this farce.
そもそもお兄ちゃんの出番はないけど。
That's okay. You weren't in the script to begin with, Big Brother.
だとしてもだ、俺は絶対に反対だ。
Nonetheless, I will not support this production. I stand opposed.
俺も気に入らねえな。主人公にするならこんな特徴のないやつより俺にするべきだろ。
I don't care for it either. If you're gonna make anyone the male lead, you ought to pick me, not a plain-ass nobody with no special traits whatsoever.
え、特徴ないの俺？というかそんな話してなかったよね今。
What? What do you mean no special traits? Also, I don't think my qualifications are the issue here.
聞こえなかったのならもう一度言ってやる。
Didn't you hear me? Then I'll say it again.
主人公にするならこんな特徴のないやつより俺にするべきだろ。
If you're gonna make anyone the damn lead of this fucking stupid rom-com, then pick me, not this boring-ass goody two-shoes everyman.
言わなくていいよ。っていうかそこじゃないだろ俺が突っ込んだの。
You don't have to be so mean about it. That wasn't my point anyway. It's not about me.
持田に特徴がないかどうかはともかく、俺もこんな茶番に付き合う気にはなれないな。
Putting aside Mochida's unique traits or lack thereof, I too stand in opposition to this charade.
それにやるとしても主役は演劇経験者の俺がやった方がいいと思うけどな。
However, if it must be performed, then I propose picking someone far more suitable for the lead, someone with theater experience, such as myself.
森重も否定してくれないの？
Huh? Morishige, you object to me as the lead too?
聞こえなかったのならもう一度言おうか。
If you didn't hear me, I'll be happy to repeat myself.
いやだから聞こえなかったとは言ってないだろう。俺否定してくれないことを嘆いてるだけだよ。
I don't need you or anyone else to repeat yourself, damn it. I'm just lamenting the fact that every guy here seems very much opposed to me taking this role.
持田に特徴がないかどうかはともかく、俺もこんな茶番に付き合う気にはなれないな。
Putting aside Mochida's unique traits or lack thereof, I too stand in opposition to this charade.
それにやるとしても主役は演劇経験者の俺がやった方がいいと思うけどな。
If, however, it must be performed, then I propose picking someone far more suitable for the lead, someone with theater experience, such as myself.
今言わなくていいって言ったよね。なんで余計なことはたくさん言うの？
I just said I didn't need you to repeat yourself, and why did you have to repeat everything you said?
特徴がないかどうかはともかくサトシ、お前も反対だよな。こんな茶番に参加するのは。
Regardless of your lack of unique traits, you too must be opposed to this farce, Satoshi, right?
よしき、お前も否定してくれないのか。
Yoshiki, not you too.
聞こえなかったのならもう一度言う
He's
ぜ。
the one who started this. If you didn't hear me, then allow me to repeat myself.
だからもう言わなくていいよ。俺が嘆いているのは聞こえないことじゃなくて。
Stop, damn it, don't you dare. I am not complaining about being unable to hear what you're saying, and a hearing is just fine.
どっちでもいいだろそんなこと。今はこの台本通りにラブコメをするかどうかって話をしてるんだ。
And I don't give a crap about your hearing. I'm just asking if you're okay with performing this absurd romantic comedy as written.
俺はそうだけど。
Well, I mean, no, but still.
な。お前に特徴があるとかないとかの問題じゃねえんだ。だろ?
See, this isn't a question of whether or not you have any traits worthy of the role now, is it?
そうだよ。関係ないよ。でもちょっと気になるんだ。なあよしき、お前もそう思ってるのか?
No, I guess it isn't. That is completely beside the point. But I can't help but being at least a little bothered. Do you really think I'm that bland?
よしき。もしもし、よしきさん。
Hello? Earth to Yoshiki.
どうしても答えないといけないのか。
Do I really have to answer that?
すごく答えづらい質問だったの？俺に特徴があるかどうか聞くのってそんなに厳しいことなの？
What? Is it really that tough of a question? Do you really have to think that hard about whether or not I have a clearly defined personality? Big brother?
ねえゆかち、もしかしてゆかちのお兄さんって特徴ないの？キャラ当たってないってやつ？
Hey Yukes, is your big brother really like one of those blank slate dudes you see in anime? Someone with no unique characteristics to speak of?
さつきちゃん。
Huh? Satsuki!
だってみんな言ってるし、誰も否定しないよね。
Well, that's what everyone's saying, and nobody stepped in to say otherwise.
でも、そんなにはっきり言ったら、いくらなんでもお兄ちゃんがかわいそうだよ。
But when you put it so bluntly like that, I just feel kind of bad for him.
まさかお前まで俺のことを。
Oh, Yuka, not you too.
違うよお兄ちゃん。お兄ちゃんってすごく主人公っぽいよ。
That's not it. You're very protagonisty, big brother.
かっこいいし、やるときはやるし、最後はやっぱりお兄ちゃんがいないとだし。
You're really cool-headed, and when something needs to get done, you step in and do it. I don't know what any of us would do without you.
で、特徴があるって言えるのか。
But would you say I have unique personality traits?
ないと言ってるようにしか聞こえないですよね。普通の主人公って感じですよね。
I'm only hearing otherwise, man, but Yukes is right. That does make you pretty protagonisty.
さつきちゃん。
Satsuki!
でもさゆかっち、主人公みたいっていい意味だけど、要するに普通って意味でしょ？
What? Think about it. Calling someone protagonisty is a compliment, but when you get right down to it, it basically just means that they're really ordinary. I am, aren't I?
んなことはどうでもいいんだよサトシ。
It doesn't matter right now, Satoshi.
そうだった。今は俺に特徴がないかどうかなんて関係ないんだった。
Oh, yeah, that's right. Right now it makes no difference whether or not I have anything new to bring to the
サ
table.
トシ、お前も反対だよな。こんな台本。
Satoshi, are you in or are you out? You're totally against the script too, right?
俺は。
もちろん反対だよな、サトシ。
You are against it, aren't you?
サトシ。
俺は賛成だ。
I'm in.
せっかく今日は怖いのはなしって言ってるんだから、 ここはおとなしく従うべきだと思う。
You have a chance to experience one full day without any scary stuff happening, so I feel like it would be the best to play along.
見損なったぜサトシ。お前は自分さえ美味しい目に会えるなら俺や篠崎がどう思うがいいってことかよ。
I've misjudged you, man. While you're up there being subjected to countless worldly pleasures, just think about what Shinozaki and I are going through.
違うよしき。俺はただ幸子には逆らわない方がいいって思ってるだけで。
It's not it, Yoshiki. I just don't think we should defy Sachiko right now.
それに篠崎も問題ないって言ってるし。なあ、篠崎も従った方がいいって思うよな。
Besides, Shinozaki said she didn't mind. Isn't that right, Shinozaki? You're okay with playing along, right? Sure.
本気で言ってるのか篠崎。
Do you even know what you're saying, Shinozaki?
私さっきもこの台本でいいって言ったでしょ？
What do you mean? I said before that I was okay with the script.
だけどよ、でもサトシが主人公でハーレムなんだぞ。
But Satoshi's the lead, and it's a harem!
だからそれも持田くんならいいって言ったはずだけど。菱沼くん、何を聞いてたの？
Yeah, and Mochida said he's cool with it too, so there's no problem. Honestly, Kishinuma, have you even been listening?
よしき、大丈夫か？なんかショック受けてるみたいだけど。
Yoshiki...
台本にはお前は出てないし。関係ないだろ。
Yoshiki, Yoshiki, are you okay? You look like you're in shock or something, but you're not even in this production, so it shouldn't make any difference to you, right?
サトシ。サトシ。俺はもうお前のことを友達とは思わねえ。
Satoshi, we are no longer friends!
よしき、なんでそこで怒るんだよ。なんでラブコメをした方がいいって分かってくれないんだ。
Yoshiki, why are you being like this? Why wouldn't you accept that performing this romantic comedy is the right thing to do?
分かってないのはお前の方だ、サトシ。
You're the one who isn't getting it, Satoshi.
お前が何を言ってるのか分からないよ、よしき。
That's because I don't understand a thing you're saying, Yoshiki.
とにかくラブコメには反対だからな。
I don't care. I oppose this romantic comedy.
どうして？
How come?
せっかく楽しい一日にしようと思ったのに、どうしてそんな風にいがみ合うの？
I had a whole fun day planned out for you and everything. How come you gotta fight like that?
どうしてって、お前がふざけたことを言い出すからだろうが。
How come? Because of you. Because you wrote this stupid script.
ひどいお兄ちゃん。
That's such a mean thing to say, big brother.
お兄ちゃんなんて呼んであげない。
No, I can't call you big brother anymore. You don't deserve it.
菱沼たちがそういうつもりなら、幸子にも考えがあるからね。
If you and your friends are so against my romantic comedy, Kishinuma, then I have another idea of what you can do.
やべえ、激鱗に触れちまったか。
Crap. I think I made her mad.
逃げたいやつにはチャンスをあげる。もちろん簡単なことじゃないけどね。
Anyone who wants to escape will be given a chance, but it won't be easy.
あのドアの先には脱出ゲームがあるの。
I've prepared an escape room scenario on the other side of that door.
もしゴールまでたどり着けたら、その時は誰かもう一人と一緒に逃がしてあげる。一人じゃ寂しいでしょ？
If you can make it to the goal, I'll let you and one other person escape because it's lonely being the only one, right?
マジかよ。
You serious?
もしゴールできたらだけどね。
That's if you can make it to the goal.